officially recording. So thank you so much for being here as part of this session. Of course, that is me, Vernon Wright. Absolutely honored and privileged to be a part of Global EdTech Academy, of course, sponsored by Microsoft EDU and Q. Very thankful to Microsoft EDU and Q for really what was and is a vision that the both of them came up with collaboratively. And that is what has brought us to this summer, which has just been a phenomenal summer of PD, sponsored again by Microsoft EDU and Q. So that's me, Vernon Wright. Of course, what relevance do you have as a leader? That is the series that I have been doing all summer as a part of the Global EdTech Academy. Of course, that's what we're here to talk about today as well. And of course, you see down there at the bottom, Reflections of a Leader Series, q.org/Microsoft. And of course, the hashtags GETA, short for Global EdTech Academy, Microsoft EDQ, and We Are Q. Those are the hashtags that if you do tweet out, would love to have you tweet out, whether you are here with me in the session live or you're even watching this on replay. And you would say, you know what, Vernon, whether I was there live on the session or watching with the replay, the things that you were sharing really resonated with me, and I feel so compelled to share them with other people on Twitter. What we would say there is feel free to go ahead and share those profoundly positive things that resonated with you on Twitter by using those hashtags, hashtag GETA, hashtag Microsoft EDU, and hashtag WeAreQ. Tag me on it as well, because I would love to hear about the impact and the difference of what I have shared, of that making a difference in your life and in what you do. So, of course, this moment in history for our nation and for our world, 2020 has been quite the interesting year. And what I have said all along, as we have gone through this process of not only dealing with literally a global pandemic, but also too as well dealing with issues of race and equity, implicit bias, and so forth and so on. There's so many topics that are within that purview and within that perspective that this has been really the year in which we need clarity. Every single person needs clarity in everything that they do every single day. And so for me, and I know that there are many others that share this perspective as well, that I'm honored to share the perspective with. We thank Microsoft EDU and Q Inc. for their global commitment to equity and to developing educators worldwide, because Microsoft EDU and Q Inc. came together and said, you know what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have not only professional development just here in the States, but we're going to have professional development literally around the globe. I've been blessed to have people in my sessions from the UK, from the continent of Africa, from New Zealand, from Australia. I even had someone in one of my sessions recently that was from Qatar. And so one of the things that is so neat for me as a speaker is to know that through the wonders of technology, again, that technology, of course, brought to us by Microsoft, and specifically Microsoft EDU, we're able to reach people literally around the world and make a difference. So, of course, that's me. Hello and welcome. I'm Vernon Wright. On social media, you'll see me as @ the Right Leader. Have quite a presence on Twitter, presence in other social media channels as well, but probably the main place I would say to catch me would be on Twitter, @ the Right Leader. And as we go through today, again, if there are things that are resonating with you, whether you're watching this live and or you're watching this on the replay, you might actually end up doing both, which is totally fine with me. There are many times that I will be in a session live and then I will go back and watch the replay if it's available. And how many of you know that on those second and third and successive views, you get more information every time? Of course, there are the hashtags there if you would like to go ahead and tweet out about the things that have resonated with you and tag me on that. Would love to go ahead and hear about those again. Obviously, q.org/Microsoft if you're looking to see more about Global EdTech Academy. You might have said, you know what, Vernon, someone retweeted this, or I saw one of your tweets about it, or I saw a tweet from one of the other Global Ed Tech Academy speakers and just decided to say, you know what, I don't know much about this session. Let me just kind of jump in and find out about it. I will tell you that it is no coincidence that you are here in this session again, either live or on the replay. This is good stuff, and I'm so honored to be with the whole crew of Global Ed Tech Academy speakers. So you may be wondering, who is Vernon Wright? Well, I am founder of the ZeroApologyZone.com website. That's an online apparel company focused on a positive message displayed and really embodied and articulated through apparel. So honored to have founded that company, and that company grows, literally is continuing to grow by the day. An entrepreneur. Some people may not know this, but I will share this here very briefly. My master's degree, of course, obviously is in leadership of the educational nature, but my bachelor's degree is in economics and finance. So part of me has always been a business person, a speaker. I'm privileged and honored to be with you all here today in that capacity. A consultant as well. I work with different school districts and other entities, some that are not within education, really with the express purpose of helping them go to the next level. A performance coach. I work with clients one-on-one. I coach them in my private coaching and consulting. Some people call me a life coach. I go with that too. And of course, leader. Very privileged and blessed and honored to have served in leadership roles at different levels in my career in education. So for me, when people ask me, you know what, Vernon, what do you speak about? What are you about? Talk to us a little bit about, kind of give us a thumbnail sketch of Vernon Wright and what he speaks to. What I always share with people is this, and it's at the bottom of the page. I help leaders to increase their understanding of organizational dynamics so that they can leverage talents and together as a team achieve the extraordinary through synergy. And that is what is so important, because when we achieve the extraordinary, it's done as a result of synergy. But watch this. What do we have to do before that? What we have to do before that is to make sure that what do we have to make sure that we've done? We need to make sure that we understand the organizational dynamics. Or in other words, how are people working together? What is the synergy like? What's the collaboration like? And so that is what I do. That's one of the many things that I do, and wanted to share that with you here in this session. And what you will see, not only in this session of the Reflections of a Leader series, but in really all of the sessions in the series that I have done, you will see that theme and that focus as a recurring theme and a recurring focus, because that is the thing that really helps us to make a difference. So, of course, Reflections of a Leader series, I've shared about some of the other sessions as well, talked about them a little bit. You see some of them there. Transforming Practices starts with heart. What relevance do you have as a leader? Addition by subtraction, stand by me, and more. Of course, all of those sessions, including this one now. If you would like to go ahead and watch those, of course, just go to q.org/GETA recording, as it shows there on your screen, and you will be able to connect with all of those sessions. And not only all of those sessions in the Reflections of a Leader series, but all of the sessions from all of the Global Ed Tech Academy speakers. And I will tell you, even though I am a Global Ed Tech Academy speaker, guess what? This is what I'm doing. What I am doing is this. I even go through and I look at all of the sessions. That's what I do. So just want to go ahead and share that with you all. All right, let me go ahead and do this here real quick to make sure that we are all on the same page. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and continue and go forward. The 5 R's of effective instruction: real, relevant, rigorous, reflective, and refined. I share this because this is the first session of the Global Ed Tech Academy that I did. This is the session that really kicked off the whole Reflections of a Leader series. So if you would say, you know what, Vernon, these different series, I've been able to plug into some of these either by replay, or maybe it's worked out with my schedule where I've been able to be in some of those sessions live. I would say this: if you would want to go back to the very beginning, or really what was the genesis of the series, it is this: the 5 R's of effective instruction: real, relevant, rigorous, reflective, and refined. So as we go through really the sessions today, and I want to say this before I get to the next slide because I want to make sure that I do it justice. I will be talking about some of the different elements today from some of the other sessions, including the 5 R's of effective instruction. But certainly, due to time constraints, I don't have time to go ahead and do a full review of all of the previous sessions that came before this one. So again, go to q.org/GETA recording, and you'll be able to go ahead and look at all of those sessions in depth and in detail. But the 5 R's is the one that kicked it off. Certainly encourage you to go back and take a look at that. So right now, let's go ahead and go forward to the next slide. And this is kind of a fun one. If money was of no concern, where would you choose to take a vacation to? If you would go ahead and just type that in the chat, that would be good. I love this slide, and it's always been one of my favorite slides because it has crystal clear blue water. And I'm a fan of crystal clear blue water and tropical vacations. I like that. Want to go ahead and say this too, while you're typing in your answer there about, again, if money was of no concern, where would you choose to take a vacation to? As you're thinking about that and formulating what you would like to go ahead and share as your response, this slide design is from PowerPoint. And it's from a concept or a feature within PowerPoint called Designer Ideas. And if you have not used PowerPoint, or it's been a while, or you've said, you know what, Vernon, I've been using maybe some other products from some other tech companies, some other different tools or solutions, but I'm hearing more about Microsoft PowerPoint, and I'm hearing you talk more about PowerPoint and new features. Let me say this to you. Microsoft PowerPoint is not the PowerPoint you may have known before in years past. Microsoft PowerPoint has so many new features embedded into it, integrated within it, that I highly encourage you to come back to Microsoft PowerPoint if you are not already using it and really connect with just the rich features that are involved with that. Had an opportunity recently to chat a little bit with some of the individuals that work on the PowerPoint project as a part of Microsoft. And one of the things that they have focused on that you may not know is the aspect of artificial intelligence helping you to create slide designs based upon what your whole slide deck is about. So that's a good thing for you to check out if you haven't. Microsoft PowerPoint has some features in it that truly are game changers. Maui Beach Bungalow, yes, I like that one. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a good one. That's tropical, and that's very much crystal clear blue water. Of course, I've probably already given away what my preference would be, which would be a tropical vacation. But I'm not opposed as well to doing a little bit of skiing, which is kind of on the other end of the spectrum temperature-wise. I take both, right? We'll take the tropical beach vacation during summer, and we'll take skiing maybe where it's a little bit warmer in some of the other parts of the world. We'll take the cooler weather for skiing. So let's go ahead and go forward. And yes, you just learned about that today with Michael Cohen. Yes, that's my good buddy, the tech rabbi. He and I are good friends, and I will tell you that he has talked a lot about the artificial intelligence in PowerPoint, and he and I are huge advocates and proponents with that. And I'm telling you, PowerPoint is a game changer. It's not the same PowerPoint people might have known from maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. PowerPoint is totally different. What are some of the favorite apps that you used from Microsoft? I will tell you this, of course, I'm sharing with you right now through Microsoft Teams, and I have used a lot of video conferencing solutions. Some of them probably are ones that maybe you're well familiar with, that maybe even you have used before. Maybe some of them are lesser known to you, but I have used a variety of the video conferencing tools, and I will tell you that truly my favorite is Microsoft Teams, the level of integration. Because one of the things that people maybe do not know about Microsoft Teams is not only is it a web conferencing solution and a webinar type of solution, but it also is fully integrated into Office 365. So if you are a district that is an Office 365 district or an entity, some type of entity that has an Office 365 license that includes Microsoft Teams, you can go ahead and connect to the online versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, of course, have cloud storage with OneDrive, and you can conveniently access all of those resources straight out of Microsoft Teams. You don't even have to leave Microsoft Teams and go to another application to retrieve and leverage those resources. Just very, very cool stuff. And I will tell you also too something, whether you're here in the live session or you're watching this over replay, Microsoft Teams, the actual app itself, is getting better day by day. And there are features that have been added within that program that maybe you haven't seen before. One of them is Together Mode, and that's a really neat feature and a topic. And there's some more features that are coming as well. So Microsoft Teams, again, if you have an Office 365 license, either you have that individually yourself or you have that as part of an entity, a school district, or otherwise. If you're not using Teams, Microsoft Teams, I definitely encourage you to check that one out. This is a sleeper. There are a lot of people that don't know about this one. It's one of my personal favorites is Microsoft To Do. I have it synced across all of my devices, across cell phone, across tablet, across laptop. Great device, or great application, I should say. And because it works on all of my devices, I can be working on my to-do list on one device and then go ahead and go to another device and just pick up right where I left off with the other one. And again, all integrated within the Microsoft ecosystem. I like that one a lot. Mile IQ, if you have ever tracked and kept track of your mileage for whatever the reasons are, especially if you are self-employed, Mile IQ is an app that a lot of people know about, but I tell you what many people didn't know about Mile IQ is that Mile IQ is part of the Microsoft family. You may not have known that. So if you're using Mile IQ, of course, thank you for using that as part of the Microsoft family. If you've been using Mile IQ and you didn't know that, well, now you know that that's a part of Microsoft. So great application there. I have used that one in years past. Very, very good in terms of how it packages the information for you, especially if you use that for tax preparation purposes. Great application. So let's go ahead and talk about a guiding question, because we're in the middle of this session and we're talking about the different things that we're doing here as part of the Reflections of a Leader series. I like to start out with guiding questions at the beginning of a session, because here's what they do. They do just what those two words say. They help to guide us as a question throughout the learning. They give all of us that are watching us, again, if you're with me live, thank you, that's great. If you're watching me on the replay, thank you, welcome as well. They give us a central point or theme to think about as we go through all the information. If you've not used a guiding question before as part of your instruction, it's a good thing to do. And I'm getting ready to go ahead and demonstrate that for you here right now in the midst of this session. But let me also say this. We may have individuals that are watching us, educators, or even those that maybe are not in education, but they are responsible for training and development of staff members. A guiding question is something you can use as well. It's not just something that is applicable in the classroom, it's applicable in many other instances. So let's take a look at what the guiding question is. The guiding question is, how can we use innovation and empowerment in our roles to advance student achievement? That's a lot right there. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at that here real quick. Just taking a quick check of the time to make sure that we are good there. How can we use innovation, and really innovation, just unique ways of thinking about how to solve problems and how to come up with solutions. Empowerment. A lot of people use the word empowerment. This is what I say about empowerment. Empowerment is this: not only giving individuals the opportunities to develop their skill sets, but also giving them a role and an opportunity where they can partake in ownership of that process. Because intrinsic motivation is tied to a person feeling like they truly own whatever that process is. And of course, this session is not around that, but I did want to go ahead and share that about innovation and empowerment. So that's our guiding question. Just something for you to think about as we go through the learning today. So 3 high impact levers for teaching and leadership. I share this in each one of the sessions that I have as part of the Reflections of a Leader series. So let's take a look at what those 3 high impact levers are. Number 1, competence. Competence is important. And here's why competence is important. Competence is important because it's really hard to have confidence in someone if you do not also to see them as being competent. Let me say that one again. It's a challenge or difficult to have confidence in someone if you do not see them as being competent. So if you're the person on the other end of that, the thing to think about there is, have I demonstrated competence? Now, you don't have to know everything, but within the last 7 days, maybe even today while you're watching this, have you demonstrated competence? And so as we're working on building confidence and building the confidence that others have in us, one way that we're able to do that is through demonstrating competence. Number 2 is communication. What are all the different ways of communicating with individuals? Those are what I call interpersonal dynamics. Here's one way that maybe you haven't thought about as much. Certainly you've heard about it, but maybe you haven't thought about it lately, or maybe it's been a while since you've thought about it. And that is nonverbal communication. Let me say that one again, nonverbal communication. So if you haven't thought about that one, that's one to think about, nonverbal communication. Let's go on to number 3. Number 3 is connection. Everything that we do that really makes an impact on people, a profoundly positive impact on people, it's as a result in part of the connections that we make with people. We're human beings and we make connections with each other. So that connection is important. So let's do this. We've talked about those 3 high impact levers, right? Let's talk about them again, but with a twist, a slightly different perspective. So let's talk about number 1. Number 1, oh, there is connection again, but we said with a twist, right? So let's think about this. The twist is, we're not just making connections, but guess what we're doing? We are making authentic connections. Not only are we making authentic connections, we are making aligned connections. Aligned connections. Okay. So in other words, when I am connecting, I'm connecting with you all, again, whether you are here live in the session or you're watching me on replay. I am making an aligned connection with you. Well, you might ask, Vernon, @ the Right Leader, what is that aligned connection? Well, what has brought us together? What's brought us together is professional development. So that connection is in alignment with that. We are all speaking about this overall general topic. Number 2, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Again, the same 3 high impact levers, but with a twist. Number 2 is impact. And this is a big one because over the years, I've had a lot of people ask me, Vernon, what does impact mean to you? Because there maybe are people that you've been around And you might say, you know what, Vernon, I have been around a lot of people that say that they're making an impact, but I don't necessarily know that I agree. Or I would say, yes, they are making an impact, but I don't necessarily know maybe how to parse that, or maybe how to get a little bit more granular in my own understanding. And in terms of a working definition of what that means, well, let me go ahead and share with you the way I think about it, and hopefully it resonates with you. And if you don't have a working definition of impact, maybe it helps you with that to get to that level of granularity. And that is this: for a person to have impact, what I say is this: if I am helping someone through my contributions of time, energy, or other resources, if what I have invested in and have helped someone to be able to accomplish either as a goal or a desired outcome, if those investments of time, energy, and other resources have helped them to achieve those things that are important to them, I've added value. And if I've added value, I've made an impact. So the next time that someone asks you, hey, do you think that you've made an impact? Maybe for you, and again, that's just the way that I think about it. Maybe for you, you would think, well, you know what Vernon was saying, and really getting us to look through this lens of adding value. Maybe I should ask myself, have I added value? And again, for me and my working definition, if I've added value, I've had an impact because I've helped someone to achieve whatever is important to them. Number three is scale. We don't talk a lot about scale in education. We do talk about that some in the business world, but the education side of me doesn't see that a lot in education. And that's a great opportunity. Again, if you're watching this and you're with me live, or you're watching this on the replay, to really think about scale. And scale to me is this: if I've made an authentic and aligned connection with people, that's number one. And number two, I've made an impact, I've added value. Then number three, scale simply means this: how can I take that connection that I've made before with other people, all of those connections in total, and how can I take all of that impact in total that I've made before up to this point in time in my life, and how can I reach as many new people as possible so that I can make that same type of connection with them and have that same type of impact with them? That's scale. And if you've ever worked in a school where you would say, you know what, Vernon, we helped to turn the school around, we made huge, huge, huge gains. Some of you have worked in schools like that where you've made tremendous gains. You know that one of the first things that you're asked is, number one, what did you do to make those gains, to turn a school around? And then the second thing is, um, how can we go ahead and help other schools or other entities experience the same success? So if you've ever been in a situation like that where someone has asked you about your ideas, your thoughts, and your reflections on how to replicate success, whatever success it is that you've experienced, that you've been a part about, you've been a part of bringing about, they're speaking to scale. They may not call it scale, but they're speaking to scale. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next slide, which is a big question. What does relevant mean within the context of our learning today? What does relevant mean? If you would just go ahead and type that in the chat real quick. What does the word relevant mean to you? What does the word relevant mean? Go ahead and take a few seconds. Going to make sure that my headphones, earbuds are in here, so I can make sure that I can hear clearly. What does relevant mean within the context of our learning today? If you would just go ahead and type that in the chat. I like asking questions like this periodically throughout our time of sharing and exchanging ideas, because what this does is a couple of things. Really, it does many things. But number one, it invites you into the dialogue so that obviously you have a voice as well. But it allows me to learn more about your thoughts and your reflections. And then guess what happens? It's not just me sharing information. You're sharing information with me. And guess what's happening? We are having an impact on each other. And what did we just say that impact was? Impact was adding value. So hopefully this session, which I trust that it is something that is adding value to you as you watch this. And so as you share, you're adding value to me. And so we have that reciprocity going on. We don't talk about that word a lot in education. Reciprocity. And reciprocity, when we have reciprocity going on, guess what happens? Guess what's not too far behind? Synergy, true synergy. So let's take a look at the chat here and see what we have here. Relevant, timely, meaningful. Relevant can be personal. Yes, absolutely. Those are good. I really, really like those. Those are good lenses, good working definitions for us to think about. So with that being said, let's take a look at a couple of definitions here for relevant, and you will see how they connect to what we just shared there in the chat and just looked at in the chat. Having significant or demonstrable bearing on the matter at hand. That means that you have to be able to understand what's going on in real time. The second one is bearing upon or connected with the matter at hand, pertinent. So you see that when we are truly being relevant in an authentic way or manner, we are understanding in real time what is going on, and not only understanding what is going on, but we have an overall understanding of the whole picture, not just the specifics that are happening. Because what is that going to do? That's going to inform us about whatever it is that we need to do for next steps. So what role does relevance have in addressing issues of equity, especially with regard to technology for students? In the interest of time constraints, I would just leave this one with you as a rhetorical question, something for you to think about. If you are taking notes, which of course, whether you're taking notes with in a more traditional way with pen and paper or pencil and paper, or maybe you're using a device to take notes, I would encourage you to think about this question and later on write down what relevance means to you and its connection to addressing issues of equity with regard to technology, because that is a significant question that not only applies in 2020, but is a question that I feel will probably continue to be pertinent even beyond 2020. So what's one of the things you did in life that proved to be a wise decision and still inspires you to this day? If you would type that in the chat, what's one of the things you did in life that proved to be a wise decision and still inspires you to this day? We'll tell you a quick story as you kind of think about, again, if you are with me live or you're watching this on the replay. I will tell you a quick story about me, and that is that when I got into education, I was what we would call a job changer. Education is a second career for me. I had a first career that was in business. And so for me, I will tell you one of the things that has proved to be a very wise decision for me, and that is getting into education. Now, at the time that I did that, maybe there were some individuals around me that maybe didn't see that as a wise decision, but I was confident and I knew that, you know what, this is really a calling for me, and this is the place where I need to be. Again, what's one of the things you did in life that proved to be a wise decision and still inspires you to this day? So as you think about that, I want to go ahead and say this as we go to the next slide. And we talk about being relevant. And so in essence, being relevant is not just about understanding what's happening, but here is where we go deeper with being relevant. Being relevant is about not only understanding the stories of others, it's about understanding our own story as well. And then watch this. This is the third part. The third part is understanding what are those commonalities between the stories of others and our own life story. So we have three parts there. Number one, do I know the life stories of others? And number two, do I know my own life story? And then number three, where are the bridges? Where are the connections? Where's the interconnectedness between my background and the backgrounds of other people, and how do we coalesce around that and really start to understand that even though we may be of different ethnicities, even though we may come from different backgrounds, even though we may come from different cultures, even though we may come from different parts of the world geographically, that there are still many, many things that we have in common. Again, as you see down there at the bottom of your screen, exploring the commonalities of our life stories is what brings us together despite what might be outward differences. Let me go ahead and take a quick look at the chat here. It says, yes, becoming a single mom at 50, found myself and taught my daughters how strong we could be. I will tell you this, and thank you so much for sharing that and really trusting us with sharing that, because I know that that is something that is of a personal nature, and that's really showing vulnerability, and I thank you for showing that vulnerability. If you have gone through different experiences in life, that story right there that I just shared, and again, thank you for that person that is here in the chat with us that shared that, that one experience may have had you thinking, you know what, this is it. I'm not going to recover from this. I'm not going to go forward from this. I've just basically hit whatever the plateau is, and there's no level beyond that. Well, I want to tell you one of the reasons why I like having, and I've enjoyed having asked this question before in other sessions, is just about, and is an example of just about what I shared with you from the chat, is here we have someone who went through a situation of becoming a single parent, and then not only going through that situation, which was a tough situation. Some people would go ahead and say that that is as resilience, and certainly that is. But notice what else was said and what else was shared. Rediscovery, finding out who they were. And let me say this as you go through this session. We're talking about Reflections of a Leader series. That's what this series is. Again, if you want to see the other sessions, go to q.org/Microsoft, and you can catch all of the episodes within the series. As you're going through that, you are not only acquiring new information, but guess what else is happening? You are, as you're acquiring and assimilating that information into who you are, your head and your heart, you are developing as a person how you look at things, the lenses you look at things through. You are developing in terms of your heart and the sentiments that you hold in your heart. That's why the things that, and of course, we're not really talking about it per se here in this session, but that's why topics in things like empathy are so important, because when we start to rediscover who we are, guess what happens? We unlock all of this potential. And it's funny because I was sharing with a friend of mine, I like to think about things in terms of analogies and metaphors. Maybe sometimes in life, and I like to tell stories as well, and you probably have seen that already here in the session. Sometimes in life, I think that we are in a position where our potential, our energy is potential. And really the next level going forward for us is to go ahead and switch from potential energy to kinetic energy. Let me say that one again before we go on, because I know that, I have some other things here that I want to share with you all and make sure that we talk about. But sometimes in life, I think that we find ourselves as having all of this potential energy. But the way forward is to find out, how can I switch from potential energy to kinetic energy? And that's really one of the things that really is an underlying or implicit theme within this session today. So what thing has to be present and established for people to feel relevance between each other? What thing has to be present and established? Well, I will tell you what thing has to be present and established, but I'm going to give you about maybe 5 or 10 seconds to formulate an answer. Again, if you're with me live or you're watching this on replay, give you a few seconds real quick to think about what thing has to be present and established for people to feel relevance between each other. What thing has to be present and established? Well, let's take a look at it. If you said trust, or you were thinking about trust, you are right on target. You're right on the money with that. And so it says here, of course, just a quick quote that I would like to share with you all from me. The first steps to establishing trust are about letting the other person know that they are truly important to us and that we see their value as human beings. The masterpiece of relevance. Let me say that one again because that one is huge. The masterpiece of relevance that we wish to paint. You see that this slide background is a canvas. The masterpiece of relevance that we wish to paint must begin with a canvas and the paintbrush of trust. Must begin with that. And so anything that is the extraordinary, people will look at whatever this outcome is and they will say, oh, this is absolute excellence. This is phenomenal. This is fabulous. This is the extraordinary. When people have come together to do that and to make it possible for that outcome to become reality and come to fruition, one of the things that is a part of that foundation is trust. And so if you're trying to go ahead and do the extraordinary, you're trying to do something that is innovative, you're trying to go ahead and do really a next level kind of move, and you're doing that in conjunction with other people together as a team. We talked about synergy earlier. One of the things to ask yourself is this: do we collectively have trust? You could even call it collective trust, because it's trust not only as an individual, but trust in an interconnected sense between everyone on that team. I cannot speak enough really about the importance of trust, not only individually between two individuals, but on an organization, small group, large group basis, collectively trust. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the next one. So how can I build trust? You might say, you know what, Vernon, you're speaking my language. This is really about, where I am right now with my organization. How did you know this? Because you're speaking directly to the situation that I'm in, whether that's live or you're watching this on replay. Well, it's no coincidence that our paths have come together. And I would say this: if you are in a situation where you say, you know what, Vernon, based upon what you've shared so far, I am in a situation where even before I connected with you at this session today, I knew that trust was a major component that needs to be an everyday occurrence and needs to have a continuous presence in terms of what we're doing as a team. How do I do that? How do I build that? Or, of course, as it says there on the slide, how can I invite someone to tell me their story, and as well, I share mine? Because here's what happens. This is subtle, but it's absolutely significant. If I share with you parts of my life story, guess what I have to do in order to do that? Well, of course, obviously, I have to recall those life stories. But even beyond that, beyond the cerebral, beyond the cognitive, really on a deeper level, I have to have trust and be vulnerable in sharing that with you. And so as I share that with you, and I invite you to share your life stories with me, and we bond around that. Again, we talked about that a few slides ago about commonalities between life stories. That's how we get this bond, and that's how we build this trust and set the foundation for synergy. So if you're wondering, well, you know what, Vernon, how can I invite someone? What's a tool? What's an approach? I call this the big three. That's what I call these three questions. And so these are three questions that you can ask someone about that you work with. And it will give them really a very great opportunity to share what's on their mind. There's so many people that are walking around us every day that we're working with, that we're around in all these different spaces. And my wondering has always been this over the years: has anyone ever asked that person any of these three questions? Or is the only communication they have with that person about, hey, how was your weekend? How's everybody doing? How's everything going? Or, hey, I need this by 12 noon. Or, hey, I need this by the end of the day. Or, hey, what's the status on this other thing? Like, is that the only connection that a person has? The only dynamic that a person has with someone else or with other people in their organization? Well, it's time to go ahead and shift that. And so, how do we shift that, Vernon? Walk up to someone, and you can try this. You can try this. If you're watching this, maybe this is the evening time when you're watching this, or maybe it's even in the morning, depending upon what time zone you're in, literally around the world, because we have global reach here in the Global EdTech Academy. Try this. Walk up to someone that you work with, you have a good relationship with, and ask them this question. The first one in the first area that you see there: what are you working on right now that you're passionate about? Now, when you think about asking someone this question, you might even have someone in your mind right now that you say, you know what, Vernon, um, like I don't even know the last time was what the last time was when someone even asked me that question. It's a powerful question. So you can ask yourself that question. What are you absolutely passionate about right now that you're working on? And then as you're processing that question, which is a part of your own introspection and self-assessment, you can ask someone else that question. And chances are, and I've shared these three questions in different parts of the state that I'm here in Texas, and I've even shared them even beyond the borders of Texas, across the nation, and even in different parts of the world globally through the wonders of technology. This is not a question many people are asked. So it's a great one. What are you working on right now that you're passionate about? And I will tell you this, chances are, now, of course, there are no guarantees in life, but chances are when you ask a person this question, number one, they're probably going to be surprised because it's not a common question that people are asked. And number two, they're probably really going to be very excited about letting you know what they are absolutely passionate about. It's a great question that is a very warm way of inviting people into dialogue. The second thing is this, and this really gives us the opportunity to understand people in terms of their thinking processes and what motivates them and what they see as significant. And the second question is this: why is that meaningful to you? Let me say that one again. So excited to be with you guys here today. Let me slow down a little bit to make sure that we get that all in, because I want to make sure that you get this one clearly. This is a huge one as well. Number two, why is that meaningful to you, and what impact do you think it can have? Uh, Again, a huge question, and really one that invites people to share their thinking with us, and us to really want to know, like, tell me about that. Why is that significant to you? And guess what happens when you ask someone a question like that? When they start to share, there's a chance that whatever the reasons are for why that's significant to them, and they think that's going to make an impact, they might be some of the same reasons for you. And then number three, what difference do you think it can make as it relates to the school or district's vision and mission? That third question really is an opportunity for us to understand that we do not operate as individuals without any type of connectedness, interconnectedness with other people. That's not how we work. And so whatever our contributions are, they are not only our contributions. Our contributions are part of a larger effort. That's why whatever it is that we do, when we start to focus not only on just how that affects us, but how it affects others, we start to have a bigger vision for not only the work that's happening locally that we're involved in, but really, like Global EdTech Academy, we start to think on a global level. So let's go ahead and before I go to the next thing, let me go ahead and check the chat here real quick. Thank you so much um, for those questions. Let me go through. Thank you for affirming those questions. Yes, yes, absolutely. I thank you for those affirmations, not only about the questions, but about, the section we were talking about earlier about trust and really going deeper around that, about the experiences that people go through. Because I want to tell you this real quick, and I know that we are coming to the end of the time. We've had such a fabulous time. It almost makes me wonder, where did the time go? Did somebody speed up the clock? But a lot of times we come together for professional reasons. This is professional development, right? Professional development, professional reasons. But I will tell you this, as someone that is a performance coach, some people call me a life coach. That's fine too. I go with that title as well. I'm honored and humbled. But with the clients that I coach privately in my one-on-one coaching business, I will tell you this: there is not one single client that I have worked with where we have discussed things of a professional nature that have not been connected to their personal lives as well. There are always parallels. There are always parallels. So, guess what's great about these three questions? Just as you can ask a colleague or someone else that you work with in a professional sense these three questions, you can go ahead and ask someone the same three questions in your personal life. Now, the third one is going to be a little bit different in your personal life, because it's really not going to have maybe that school or that district perspective to it. But for that third area in your personal life, you could go ahead and ask the person, I've asked you the first two questions. What difference do you think this is going to make in society and in the world? And, especially if a person is very passionate about something that they see as a cause on a global scale, on a global level, they're going to be very excited to speak about that third part, which is, this is the impact that I think that my contributions as a person on a personal level are going to make. And so that's how you can use these three questions in both instances, not only professional, but also personal as well. All right, let's go ahead and go on real quick. The big three, let's go deeper. Your credibility and experience are essential to establishing trust. Absolutely. If you missed where we talked about at the very beginning of the session about the three high impact levers, and we talked about not only connection, but we talked about competence, I'm telling you, that first area right there directly connects to what we really shared towards the beginning of the session. If you missed that, that's no problem. It's okay. Just go to q.org/Microsoft and you will be able to go ahead and go back and find those videos. And as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and type in. I'm going to type in, if you guys would give me just a second. I'm going to go ahead and type in a link that you can use, and that will take you to a playlist of all of my Global EdTech Academy videos. So the other link, which is q.org/Microsoft and q.org as well, GETA recording, that takes you to all of the videos for all of the phenomenal, fabulous Global EdTech Academy speakers, including my good friend, the tech rabbi. We talked about him earlier, Michael Cohen. But if you say, you know what, Vernon, is there a way that I can connect in addition to the videos for all of the other Global EdTech Academy speakers? Is there a way that I can connect directly with the sessions that are a part of your series? Well, I just dropped that in the chat. bit.ly// I should say, bit.ly// the Wright Leader videos. bit.ly/ the Wright Leader videos. Just go to that and and you'll see the playlist of all of the episodes in the Reflections of a Leader series that I've done before, and it will allow you to catch up. An accurate assessment demonstrates your understanding and competence. Again, going back to what we talked about at the beginning of the session. Again, if you missed the beginning of that session, not a problem. We've got you covered. Again, go to bit.ly/the Wright Leader videos. Of course, you can go to q.org/GETA recording again and get that also too. And you can go back to the very beginning of the session and you can see that part. And maybe you caught that also too, but you say, you know what, Vernon, I want to go back and look at that again. I want to go back and look at the 3 questions again. That's what's so great about these sessions being recorded. They give you the opportunity to go back and really have this professional development on demand when it's convenient for you. Thank you again to Microsoft EDU and Q Inc. The last one, your ability to connect with value and shine the light on others. I will tell you that over the years, one of the most important lessons that I have ever learned in leadership is this. Don't focus on shining the light on yourself. Focus on shining the light on others. And as you focus on shining the light on others, they will shine the light on you. We talked earlier about adding value to each other. And we talked about an R word that maybe we don't talk a lot about in education, which is called reciprocity. And really that shine the light on others is an example of reciprocity. Because if I shine the light on someone else that I'm working with, then guess what? They feel affirmed. And because they feel affirmed and they value and appreciate my shining the light on them, then guess what? That most of the time encourages them to do. Shine the light on me. Now, I'm not looking for them to shine the light on me. But again, going back to, if you missed it, go back, check it out later with the video replay. When we make those authentic and aligned connections, we're able to go ahead and do that and create that reciprocity. And that's where the synergy comes from. So, of course, emotional intelligence, that really is what is implicit throughout all of the big 3 questions is emotional intelligence. So if you've been studying about emotional intelligence, maybe you're in school, graduate school, while you're watching this, or maybe you're in undergraduate and you've been talking about, or you've been reading articles about emotional intelligence, and you've been looking to, again, get a little bit more granular and really formulate and enhance and build capacity within your working definition of emotional intelligence. Well, really those big 3 questions that we've gone through are about emotional intelligence. The power of relevancy, we've talked about that before, about sharing and connecting our stories with the stories of others. So you might be wondering, you say, you know what, Vernon, we've come to pretty much what is the end of the time today, kind of looking at the clock. And again, what a wonderful time that I've had here in sharing and exchanging ideas, both with you all that are here with me live and with you all that are here with me on the replay. I will tell you this, that's my timer. I will tell you this, that you might be wondering, you know what, Vernon, now what? What does this look like in my district? What role do I play in this? What's my potential impact as a leader? Well, let me go ahead and share this with you. And it's the bottom line. And so again, if you're taking notes, this is a great place to take notes. If you're watching this on the replay, this is certainly a spot on the replay. And of course, you would like to do this for the whole session, but this is definitely a place on the replay where you may want to go back and rewind this and watch this one a few different times. Let's talk about the bottom line as we close. Relevance is about knowing our own life story, learning about others' lives, and then connecting those stories together. Trust is at the core of learning about other stories and inviting others to learn about our story. We begin to build real trust when the other person knows we value them as human beings. Now, let me say this about addition by subtraction. When we are looking at relevance and we're looking about trust and we're looking about building all of these things, authentic and aligned connections, and all of these things that we've been talking about the whole session. Again, if you missed it, that's okay. Go back and check out the replays. If you would like to go straight to my playlist of the replays, the way to get to that is bit.ly/the Wright Leader videos. And that's right with the W, the Wright Leader videos all together. bit.ly/the Wright Leader videos. It will take you to the playlist. If you would like to see not only those videos, but of course the rest of the phenomenal Global EdTech Academy speaker crew and their videos as well, go to q.org/GETA recording. But when we're talking about adding all of these things, guess what we're going to have to subtract? We're going to have to subtract all of the things that are not in alignment with what we know our hearts truly need to be focused on. And that's the part that takes courage, because we have to do what? We have to go back and do that introspection. And that's been one of those themes throughout this whole session, is really the introspection. And as we go through and we do the introspection, how do we help others to share their stories? So maybe we have the opportunity to do what? To help them go through their own successful introspection. Because our going to the next level, it doesn't matter who we are, doesn't matter what backgrounds we come from or what our status is, socioeconomic status. Anytime we're getting ready to go to the next level, we must go through introspection. And I always say this, and this is a quote directly from the Wright Leader: there can be no authentic growth without reflection. There can be no authentic growth without reflection. So all of this really is about reflection. And the addition by subtraction is really this: what things do we need to subtract and really put to the side and get out of our lives that do not align with where we know our hearts need to be focused. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm Vernon Wright, of course. As I said at the beginning of the session, @ the Wright Leader on Twitter. That's where you will find me. I'm on social media and some other places with that same handle, but Twitter is the main place where I hang out on quite a bit, @ the Wright Leader. It has been my pleasure to share and exchange ideas with you. Of course, there again, you've heard me mention it several times throughout the session. If you would like to check out all of the great sessions, you would like to see what the schedule is when the other speakers are speaking, I have some other sessions coming up as well throughout the rest of July and into August as well. And so honored to be a part of the Global EdTech Academy. You can check out those sessions and times at q.org/Microsoft. Again, if you'd like to watch the session replays, go to q.org/GETA recording. If something has resonated with you today and you would say, you know what, Vernon, man, this was good. First of all, let me say that I am absolutely humbled if something has resonated with you. I truly am humbled. If you would like to share that out, you feel compelled, you would like to share that joy, please do. Please use those hashtags, Microsoft EDU, GETA, and of course, WeAreQ, and tag me on it, @ the Wright Leader. I would love to hear what difference this has made for you. That is jet fuel for my spirit and jet fuel for my soul. So I believe the time is up. Thank you all so much for being with me here today. It has been an honor to be with you all. So wonderful to be with you. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll go ahead and we'll stop the recording, man. Until the next time, make sure that you check us out on q.org/Microsoft Global EdTech Academy. Thank you, Q Inc. and Microsoft EDU.